Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another ThyGap podcast episode. Yet another Thursday. Yet another ThyGap podcast episode. ThyGap Thursdays, as you know from our trailer that we put up on our. Anyways, as always, my name is Bogus Noog. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm also joined by
Being Brute, which is my brand new name, unlike always. Bogus, welcome.
Brute. Yet another week. Yet another episode. No gaps.
No
in
gaps.
case
We
anyone's
made it.
Noticing? Yes.
We made it. We ensured with pure diligence and commitment and sheer will.
And blood and sweat and tears. ThyGap subscribe.
And share, obviously. So we are here, Bogus, with our most famous It's Not Easy template. And today we are going to talk about It's Not Easy mass communication.
Not the most attractive or the marketable of titles.
Yes, we
know,
thought about what should be the title of this episode for about a long time.
a long time.
We can't even put like a limit or a number to how long we thought about it.
Yeah, like we can't count more than, like on one hand.
Yeah.
But all of the clever titles we came up turned out to be potential episodes in their own right. So, more got added to the list as usually as it happens.
It's a bread
as
and
is our
butter.
want.
Yes.
Yeah. But mass communication, yes, of course. And but as always, it's not easy. We first start off by explaining what we mean. What is the context that we're talking about?
Yes, we want to make all our listeners be on the same page. Unlike like we throw and vomit some stuff and they're like, oh, this doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
These guys don't know what they're talking about because a lot of people out there don't even set the context.
Yeah, we're not throwing you out to sea.
Yeah.
We're dragging you in the mud.
With your ear, holding it, twisting and turning your ear.
In the dirt. Yes.
In the dirt. So, Bogus, I'll just ask you the unforsaken question. When we say mass communication,
yes,
can you...
I'll just answer that.
Yeah.
Because we know. We know where this is going.
Yeah.
So, what I mean...
I'm still trying to figure out what could have been a better title. But anyways, we are in the midst of the recording.
Yeah, they're all other different episodes.
Potentially.
Potentially different
high potential.
episodes.
Yeah.
So, bro, what we mean in this episode with mass communication, the context that we're using it in is whenever you put out any information that is very public, like it's widely open to a vast audience. So if you're broadcasting, for example, on any sort of medium, which can be accessed by a whole number of people like TV or whatever.
People more than who are in groups of 8.
Yeah.
Like if it is more than 8
that's the
people,
definition.
like
More
we
than
mass communicate. Like ThyGap mass communicate.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. So that's the definition we're using. So when you're broadcasting something to a very wide audience in public, that's not easy.
For the people who are doing that or for the people who are receiving that?
The people doing it.
People doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, pretty much textbook definition. The other thing that I would like to add upon to what you mentioned is to be more explicit with our context setting is this form of communication also comprises movies. It also comprises TV shows, and it is masked under the mask of entertainment also.
Yeah, definitely.
So any kind of messaging or message-oriented content that is coming out to the public, we are fundamentally targeting that.
Yep. And, the next thing in our template, of course,
why
is
is
like,
it not easy?
why is it not easy?
Yeah.
Now, why is it not easy? It's not easy because the whole idea for this episode actually, bro, came from a conversation, not a conversation also, a message that I received from one of our listeners.
Yeah.
Who will remain anonymous, because their identity is not what's important right now.
Yeah, because they are not important.
No, they are.
We are
because
important.
They are
because
listeners.
we are mass communicators.
No.
But we are cutting this part out, obviously.
The conversation the message was something along the lines of, I noticed something you guys do in the podcast. When you go into depth into the topics that you pick for an episode, that's fair enough. But whenever you...
That's good observation.
Yeah, he didn't say that exactly because I'm paraphrasing.
We're paraphrasing, obviously, because what we say is more important.
Yeah. This is not
it's our
historically accurate record or something. It's paraphrasing. So he was like, but whenever you guys touch upon or whenever you refer to any of the negative aspects of human character, the human condition, the dark, the depths, that kind of stuff, you have a tone of brushing it aside, like almost with derision, like you're derisively kind of like, let's not talk about that. Let's not touch that. It's like, you're kind of abolishing it almost. You're brushing it aside. You just make a joke on it and then you move on.
Right.
Which is true. Actually, that's not a wrong observation. It has happened.
Yes.
Multiple times.
We own up for it.
Yeah. And the point was that our listener was trying to make was, how come you don't approach, those aspects, the dark stuff, the depths, the negative stuff? How come you don't approach that with some kind of curiosity instead? Why do you have to deride it? Why not approach it with curiosity?
Because we don't have time for this shit. The simple straight answer is we don't have time for such shit. But on a more serious note.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that is beyond this?
That was the message.
Yeah, and that's the core of.
I had a response to that.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything before I go into that?
No, I just want to respond to that observation.
Right.
I would say. I wouldn't go as far as that comment or feedback, but that observation. And it's a very simple response, right? The idea has always been to have a tone of positivity.
Okay.
Right? And picking on the point of you should approach it with curiosity or etc. And this is a debatable point once again, because it's all subjective.
Yeah.
We are subjective.
Yep.
In fact, we are right.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Curiosity for me is a tool to invest in something that is constructive in nature rather than to invest in something that will inflate ambiguity, right? Therefore, whatever we want to speak, we want to ensure that the focus is on something that is constructive rather than something that can lead you down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
That is one aspect of it. That is only to address the curiosity part of why are you not curious. This is why we are not curious about that side, because we know it's not the right door to get in. Why do we even bother to knock on that door? We rather go into the door where the light is on.
Okay.
So that is the simple analogy.
That's your perspective.
That's the perspective.
And that's fair enough, because my response was along similar lines, and my response was, I associate curiosity as a positive inclination,
right?
That we tend to have,
right?
So I wouldn't want to associate something positive with the depths of human condition,
right?
Because we have to call a thing what it is. We have to call a spade, right? So we should not overlap or mix these two categories. Positive inclinations go one way, but going into the depths of human character,
or the dark side of the human character,
or the dark side,
put it that way.
Yeah, the dark side too much.
Yeah.
In a setting where it is broadcasted to a wide audience, especially this is what I'm saying, and this is what the episode is about. So when we do that, it tends to have repercussions that go out of your control.
Yes, and that's number one. The number two is when you are not knowing who you're talking to, you rather want to control the narrative by making it positive, because the common knowledge is positivity is constructive in nature innately.
Right.
Number one. The other things that I want to back up this statement with from our own, experts. What do you call them? Excerpts or experts? So like a piece of information. Excerpt.
Yeah.
With some of the excerpts of our own previous episodes.
Yes.
Is if our audience can recollect that, or if they don't, they should go back and listen to most of the episodes.
Of course.
In episodes like Measure of Men, in episodes like Integrity, etc., we spoke about ego, and ego in common is a negative connotation. It has a tone of negativity.
Conventional.
Like, you should not have ego, etc.
Yeah.
But in our conversation, we look at ego in a positive way, as to what level we need to have that particular trait or understand that particular entity to have a productive output of it.
Okay.
So how come that is not being used in the same sense? Like my question back to the listener is, like, how come you're not curious about this then?
Because
when we opened up that there is a term or an entity or anything, you give it any name. When we are presenting it in a completely different terminology, which is apart from the convention.
I can answer that question on their behalf, actually. It is because they are more knowledgeable, about the stuff that we are brushing aside, as they said. They actually have way more knowledge about that than we do.
Fair enough.
And that's the reason why that question is coming from there, because they think that maybe even we know, or we could probably gather that information through research or something. Like if you go online, you can see places where people who experience those things, they talk about it and they go into what exactly, how
the behavior of it, the nature
how it
of
plays
it, right.
in their life.
Right.
So he was coming from that sort of an expectation,
I feel it's a wrong expectation to have with respect to ThyGap.
And
because we don't know how it's as simple as that.
That is the other part of
if I can't empathize with it, and I'm not talking about the corporate empathy, like, your dog died, but what about the meeting? No, what I mean, when I say empathize,
right,
I should have gone through that experience.
I'm able to put myself in your shoes.
And literally.
And understand what you're going through.
Yeah, like I can get goosebumps listening to that because I can relate to that dark experience or like that negative experience.
Right.
If I can't do that, I would be doing great injustice to what I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I would be disrespecting
Yeah.
somebody who's actually going through that.
I could be spouting off my mouth and saying something that could be dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would be making a fool of someone else in believing in that, oh, this guy understands me. Right. But the fact is, I don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can sit and listen to you for hours and hours and hours, still not going through or feeling what you're going through.
And that connects to the next part of my response to him. Like the first part, of course, was about, like I said, I don't associate positivity, like positive inclination, like curiosity with this. I don't like to do that. But the other part of the response was, the other reason is also because we ourselves don't know as much about this to be able to speak on it. And this topic of, whatever it is about these big words that, we hear nowadays,
which are being thrown around.
Like, these are umbrella terms and they're not very specific. Like a lot of people's conditions is being explained away by these big umbrella terms like depression, like stress, like anxiety. Like
it's like COVID. Any symptom you get, it's COVID. You're feeling itchy in the back of the ear. And COVID, bro.
Yeah, and that is because it has sort of had this fad kind of effect where there are a lot of people who are riding the coattails of basically this actual condition. Like, because I've heard and I've come across people who actually have depression, and when they described it to me, and when I also, looked it up out of curiosity or out of,
Irony.
Yeah. Because I came across someone, right? Like that was in my
It was
circle.
interesting enough to
I was thinking like, okay, if this is different from that, how come these people are saying depression?
Yeah.
And how come you're also using the same word depression, but what you're going through seems to be way different.
Lighter. You're in the light mode of...
No. Actually, this person is way different. Like this person actually, their description went, and this is another person, not the listener. Okay, this other person, their description matched very much with clinical depression of how those people who suffer from it, like a medical condition, right? They describe it as a constant state of, feeling darkness around them, being enveloped by darkness, or feeling like a dark cloud is always following them wherever they go.
Always feeling heavy in the head.
And the inner voice that they do hear, shout out to the other episode that we did, Inner Voice.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
But the inner voice that they do hear is actually constantly putting them down, telling them that they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
So that's what they go through.
Yeah.
And this is just one kind of depression, clinical. There's manic depression, which is totally different. Stephen Fry.
Right.
He suffers from that.
Manic depression.
Because
it came from ADHD, and there's a long list of things that he got it because of.
Yeah. ADHD is another thing, which actually is so specific. But it gets thrown around.
Again,
it gets abused a little bit.
Yeah. So the thing is, we can be easily put under the bracket of mass communicators, right?
Yeah.
Which should be actually the episode's title. I think it's not easy, mass communicator. But, when we are again talking about from our own experiences, why ThyGap chose to be what it is because of the fact that when we as pre-ThyGap era, when we were observing this kind of trend of information which is being, sprayed across to like the common public. Yeah. And we were like, this is not good.
It's not responsible.
Yeah, it's not well curated.
Yeah, it's not well curated.
It's not well curated. It is not sensitive to the aptitude or the sensitivity of the receptor. Yeah. Right? All these kind of things we were seeing because we were in a place where we were in a crowd absorbing the same information in a very different way versus the people around us, and nothing against them, right? And we saw how it was damaging or it was not constructive for them.
Yeah, and that's why the final part of my response to our listener was that I honestly felt that, especially sensitive stuff like this, the darkness and the depths and all that, they need to be done in a more controlled environment.
Right.
Like, you need to probably listen to a podcast that is done by certified medical professionals who actually know what goes on, because they have many patients, and they
not just that. Even before that, right? In such cases, I am a strong advocate of make it personalized. Because 7 billion plus people, give or take, 7 billion different minds, 7 billion different reasons to be who they are, what they are.
Yeah.
You just cannot send across that, hey, the definition of depression is A, B, C, D. So just check if you have any of this. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah. Imagine, bro, we are living in a gated community on an island. Okay. It's all plush, luxurious. Everyone has everything they need.
Yeah.
And then there's a center post in between. That's basically the communications office for the whole community. One day they put out a circular that says, hey, by the way, in our post, we're housing this briefcase that has the nuclear codes for self-destruction.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah. I mean, if we want to self-destruct our amazing community,
let's do
this
that.
is the button that you have to press, and these are the codes.
Yeah.
But it's very important that you understand.
Yeah.
You should never, ever, ever do that. Because we'll die. Please do not do that. And if you feel like, if you
come and tell us.
If you're feeling a compulsion that you want to do it, here's a support group that you can join.
It's in building number 3, by the way, just in case, straight and right.
Yeah, and it's called I will not press the button or something like that. Resist the button.
Resist the button.
Resist the button. Hashtag.
How to
join our group. We have a Discord. All this stuff. Imagine if they did that. Obviously, some fucker is going to walk up and press the code.
Just out of curiosity, by the way.
Because
just out of curiosity, by the way, like I think they're bluffing, and let me just press it. And boop, boop, and then boosh, mushrooms. And see, that's exactly my problem. See, you cannot dilute the gore of such sensitive things just by like saying that, hey, let's all talk about it, and make that one person who's not talking who actually has it, let's make them feel really uncomfortable. Like really, really uncomfortable. That's not how we go about it. It has to be like a whisper in the air.
Yeah.
It can't be shouted out loud like a protest. It has to be a whisper in the air saying that, hey guys, if anything of this sort, I think you gotta speak up.
Yeah, you gotta
speak up to that one person, not everybody.
Exactly. Like you said, one-on-one personalized.
It has to be. Yeah. It cannot be
a community. Let's all meet up in the community center.
It's not a social activity. It's not like we all meet and like, so what's going wrong in your life?
Yep.
And it's just a dangerous thing, because even if nothing is going wrong in your life, it's FOMO.
Yeah,
I can't
FOMO.
be this happy when the world is going upside down. Let me cry about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not what we want to, that's not the kind of culture we want to create. For sure. That's not the kind of precedent we want to set.
It's not just about us. Like anyone who's in the position of, putting out information to a very wide audience.
Yeah.
That's not the vibe you want to be spreading around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have come from generations of literature which has pointed us in the direction of the right thing.
Yeah. Controlled environment is really the key.
Yeah.
And there are so many examples also for this, bro. Like the first thing I thought about was Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, the movie.
The recent Joker.
Yeah.
Movie.
I mean, it's a great movie. Technically, it's near perfect in all ways. But when the movie came out, it did get some criticism about, they're glorifying violence in this movie.
Right.
What effect will that have and all that? Okay. And there was a pushback from the opposing side.
Obviously,
this is not glorifying violence. Like, you're clearly showing this guy is suffering from something condition. Right. Look at the poor guy. Do you not feel sympathy for him?
Yeah.
It goes into that direction. And they're saying it is not glorification of violence. That never happened. But literally, I watched the movie in a theater and I watched the scene where this guy
is on top of the police car.
Well, yeah, he flips his shit.
Yeah.
He shoots the guy, the talk show.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and the riot starts and he's standing on top of a cop car. People are rioting around him and he is almost cheering them on or something, whatever.
Yeah, encouraging.
And the kicker is the camera angle, brute. It is a hero shot.
Mm-hmm.
It is shooting him from below.
Yeah.
And the framing is supposed to signify you do that for people you want to show them as giants.
Right.
You do that when you want to show people as
they're
superheroes. They're above, they're big and they're like walking giants or something.
Yeah.
why would you do that for a guy who flipped his shit, killed someone, and now is taking part in a riot? With the riot which started because of his influence, by the way. And there is destruction everywhere. Exploding.
There is pain.
Yeah.
Pure pain.
Pure carnage is going on. And they're saying it's not glorification of violence. That camera angle itself, the slow motion that you use, and you make it look cool, all of that goes into glorification.
Yeah.
And when I was watching that as well, nothing was going on in the US at that point of time. But even then, I had an off feeling about that. I was like, this is
not a good precedent.
Yeah, up until now, this movie was great.
Yeah.
But this shit is not good.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, just a couple of months later or 3 months later or something, the rioting started in the US. And exact replica of what you saw in the movie frame. Same thing. Neighborhood shops, businesses that ran for 20 years, 25 years or whatever, just up in flames. Complete vandalism, looting, rioting. And neighborhood people.
This is exactly what we are talking about when we talk about responsible mass communication, curated mass communication. See, there is this whole angle of like, okay, how much can a movie influence? Yes, I do partially agree with this. Movies don't influence a lot.
Yeah.
But having said that, there is also something called the receiver's aptitude.
Yeah, their perception.
And when you're talking about certain aspects, you don't want them to like associate with the wrong traits or the wrong quality.
It's exactly like, hey, by the way, these are the nuclear codes.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't press them.
Exactly.
And there's so many examples like this, bro. There was a show called 13 Reasons Why. Huge hit on a streaming platform. It's about a girl who's in high school and she's good looking and she suddenly committed suicide. The show starts after she commits a suicide, by the way.
Yeah, it's like Kafka.
Yeah, and before she offed herself, she recorded videotapes, a bunch of videotapes of herself, where she was talking about her life and the people in her life and her relations with them and everything that led to that moment where she killed herself. And someone finds this in the school, and now everyone is treating it with some curiosity.
Yeah.
There's the word.
Yeah.
Curiosity. Oh, how was she? Oh, wasn't she so enigmatic? Oh, I wish
I could have been nicer.
I could have been nicer to her because I'm realizing now that I was, shitty to her, and that led her to this decision.
Yeah.
So basically, imagine someone who's watching this show with that vulnerable frame of mind.
Yeah.
Now they're going to see and think, oh, so if I just do this,
that's when I will actually be
valued, be talked about, and be thought about. So, and literally after this show, in the promotional materials everywhere, they kept saying, suicide prevention, helplines. We want to shine a light on this. We want to make sure people are more aware, all that stuff. Literally what happened after this show, suicide shot up.
Yeah.
Direct correlation to this. They were like students or something.
Yeah, we are not becoming smarter as a species, by the way. I think we all have to realize it by now. That as a species, we are not becoming smarter, we're becoming dumber. My problem with all this content, and I think we had this conversation offline a lot, I hated Squid Game.
Right, you told me, yeah.
I hated Squid Game off the bat. The very initial scene where he's being paid for slapping him, where he's being, returned to, like if he fails, then he'll slap him back.
Yeah.
All that, what is the message, the underlying message
it is the slapping scene, especially. I'm glad you called it out. It is brutal dehumanization.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
Exactly. You teach someone to fight when they're on the downside of advantage. You don't teach them a hack.
And just to play devil's advocate, right? I actually love Squid Game. Like I actually loved the show because
a lot of people did.
Because
the fact that it became so famous and like so popular and super hit.
It's not a problem when a bunch of people looks at it as complete fiction and this is just entertainment. The problem is, those few people
exactly
that look at it as something else.
All it takes is a push.
Yeah.
All it takes is a push. And these are the kind of material that will push. I mean, it might be a minority, but the minority will soon increase.
Yeah.
It will push people in the wrong way, in the wrong direction. And I'm not at all a big fan of any kind of content which has, the slightest amount of the wrong push, So therefore my problem is, and everybody was like, oh dude, you're making a huge fuss of it. Like, no. I think I'm not, because I'm seeing people getting like these ideas. Like school kids are playing games which are way beyond fucking like, simple games.
Yeah.
Way beyond relationship building, way beyond like whatever.
Because the problem has always been, that darkness has always had this element of seduction
Yeah.
that came with it.
Yeah.
The goodness, the angelic behavior or the positive stuff.
Yeah.
There was zero seduction in that.
Yeah. It's vanilla.
It is not sexy. Yeah, it is vanilla. It's exactly vanilla.
Dark chocolate sell more than vanilla
I love dark chocolate.
Yeah, everybody loves dark chocolate,
Yeah.
right? So it can't get more obvious than that. Which is why mass communication as an entity itself has to have some form of curation. I'm not saying it should be disarmed or banned or something.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it has to be curated. I don't know. So unfortunately, I can't put a finger on a weight or a formula to say that this is the way we curate it.
And it's not easy.
It's not
Episodes
easy.
are not about solutions.
Yeah, exactly. It's about putting out there that this is what, do you get the point or not?
Right.
Is it good enough for you to take an ethical action?
Yeah, because as a viewer, if you're able to see something that it is, yes, complete fiction.
Yeah.
I'm not treating this as reality. Then you can even enjoy the seductive element that it has. You can be entertained and all that.
Right.
The problem is when the audience member does not have the tools to differentiate, that seduction from fiction or something like that. That's there.
And who are seeing this kind of shows? People are in their teenage,
a mass
adolescents.
audience. Yeah, a mass audience. Impressionable audience.
Exactly. The other thing, just because we are in this particular topic, I also wanted to call out just another show that I was talking about, that I was hearing about, which I didn't see, but I read the story of that way long back. The story is called Tinder Swindler or something like that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There's a guy who cheated women out of truckloads of money, and everybody this guy is so cool.
Yeah.
No, he is not. Are you fucking dumb? Then there was another show where a female basically lied her shit out of things and lived a very luxurious life. There's a show that came out. I think,
female?
for the show specifically.
Right.
I forgot the name. The Project Amy or some shit like that. I don't remember what the name of the show was.
You were also telling me about the blue whale thing, right?
The blue whale thing?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, thank God it's in the past. I hope it is in the past.
Do you want to describe it to our audience, like those
I
who
don't
are not
want
aware of?
I don't want to. I don't want
bump.
to. That is absolutely unnecessary.
That's the key.
It's in the past. It's done. Put a lid on top of that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So whoever knows, they know how gory it is. But this is my exact problem. I'm we have to realize that things are not the same as they used to be 20 years back. Times have changed.
Yeah.
People's way of absorbing content has changed.
Yeah.
It's no more newspapers and, introspected or interfiltered understanding.
Yeah.
It is pure play sponge absorption.
There's
whatever shit you spray, I want to absorb it. Same problem I have with news channels. Same problem I have with reality shows. I am disgusted. I am flabbergasted about this whole format of putting people in one house and encouraging them to have a conflict.
Yeah.
You are at an age where the nuclear families are forming and joint family is soon becoming a myth or is at the brink of extinction. And for a decent reason, whatever might be the reason why that is happening is fair. But how are you building relationships by creating conflict, by promoting conflict among people?
It's just taking the easy way out. Oh, this is negative. Therefore it is seductive to some extent.
Yeah.
Let's sell the sex.
Exactly.
Because sex sells.
Sex sells. Fights sell.
But
demeaning people sells. Let's do that.
On the flip side, bro, I've always thought, if there was a reality show where they brought different random strangers from different walks of life, different age groups, they got them together and they made a show, tailored a show around them working together,
right, and
overcoming their differences and actually finding the commonality, between all of them, even if they were pulled from different parts of the country. I would actually watch that show.
Exactly.
I would love that show.
How can you throw a challenge to a group?
Yeah.
Don't throw challenges where you are making groups.
Yeah.
You don't promote tribalism. Please, oh God, Lord, no. We have enough.
Tribalism.
There is only so many of us who are left with, let's not label each other even more.
Oh, yeah.
Right? At one side of the coin, you're talking about, we are too united and all that crap. On the other side, you're promoting this kind of stuff. This is hypocrisy. How obvious can it get? And this is exactly why, as ThyGap, I'm glad I found you in a way, though I'm disgusted looking at you. The exact reason why ThyGap is adamant to only speak in tune of the constructive nature of any particular topic is because there is enough people bitching about this shit.
Yeah.
We don't want, I mean, why do we have to add fuel to a fire which is already sky high?
I mean, we are actually sick of it.
We are tired of it.
That's why we don't want to do.
Like if you
into
go to
that.
if you go to our Instagram page and see our description, ThyGap was initiated on a very pissed off evening, and this is exactly what we were speaking about.
Among million other things.
Other things, but the nature of the conversation was this: that why do we have to be so, like, I don't know, spiteful about everything? News is spiteful. Content in, like, you know, whatever form of short films or movies or web series that we're seeing is spiteful. Everything is spiteful. Why does it has to be so spiteful?
And part of the reason for being so confounded is because literally if you did the other thing, that would also sell.
But we chose the hard path.
No, this is the easy way out that they're taking by, you know, using negativity and using the seduction. But literally, if you showed the other thing, like Vagle Ki Dunya, bro, what a big hit that show was.
Vagle Ki Dunya. I will give you a list of things. Vagle Ki Dunya, Jaspal Bhatti, Nukkad, Shriman Shrimati,
and
all the
goes
best.
on, right?
It's on and
you
on
have
and on.
These examples, like in your life that you know about, when they literally treat something that way, people actually do buy into it a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Ye jo hai zindagi, hum panch, till very recently Sarabhai was a Sarabhai. And we are just speaking Indian content. We're not even going like the British classics or the American classics.
I know.
So, okay. Anyways, this is why it is not easy to communicate, to mass communicate, because one, there is certain level of maturity that is needed to be a mass communicator, so that you can curate and actually make your communication have a constructive tone in nature.
Yeah, you're limiting any possible damage that you're not even aware of.
Yeah.
That is completely out of your control. So it's like the nuclear codes thing again.
Yeah.
Like you want to limit that damage.
Right. And the other thing which is associated, which will be soon an episode in itself, is be curious in the right way.
Right.
Don't be curious in the wrong way. That's an obvious message that I want to put out there.
There needs to be a different word for that, actually, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, and again, this is another debate that we always had, that language is a useless tool because it only confuses, I feel, more than communicate. You know, so we have to soon reach to a point where we are only speaking telepathically so that we have the purest form of our
like
thoughts.
You understand the emotion.
You feel
exactly how intense.
the words.
Yeah. Bro, this would be the point of the episode where we would go into why it is important, but looking at the time, I think,
and our emotions and emotional energy.
We've gone quite a lot into it as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's self-explanatory. Like all the reasons we went into is exactly why it's important.
Exactly. To really understand or control the communicator in itself.
Yep. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, mass communication.
It's not easy.